Hey everyone, this is going to be our fourth budget deck tech. We're going to do a Lyonar Divine Bond deck. First, I just want to thank everyone for watching and subscribing. We reached 50, so we did another Steam card giveaway to a subscriber, and if we hit 100, I'm going to do another one. It's been really great making these videos and having people watch. I hope I'm helping. Um, Either way, it's been fun. So the goal of this deck is to play some high health minions and buff them with the cards Afterblaze and Divine Bond, and then turn them into very big threats that are difficult for your opponent to deal with. So we're going to start off with some of the lower end minions. Slow is just a battle pet. It's a 1/4 provoke. It's going to end up suiciding a lot of the time, but the goal of this is just to keep the enemy general in place for a turn and to eat up a couple of attacks. So don't expect it to survive, and don't run it out early unless you have a plan for how you want to utilize the extra time you've bought using it. Azura Lion is a great 2-drop with Celerity. It's a 2/3. That means it's great if we buff it. If with Afterblaze it becomes a 4/7 that can attack twice and move twice, can really control the board, can contest every mana tile. Just a great aggressive card that synergizes well with our deck. Shroud is here for Dispel. This is the flex slot in this deck, I think. If you had some other cards you wanted to try, I would sub this out because we already have Sunbloom for the Dispel power. But this is good just to remove taunts, remove utility minions, and the body isn't that great because you're probably not going to be buffing it, although you could throw an Afterblaze and make a 3/5 that's a formidable body, but that's not generally the situation you're going to be in. Healing Mystic is in this deck because we have high health minions, and this just helps us get more trades out of them. Once we buff them, we want them to survive as long as possible, so we're just going to heal them up with the Healing Mystic and just keep attacking with them till all the opponents are gone. Sunbloom is an AoE Dispel, a 2x2 area. It can remove a lot of enemy abilities. It can dispel effects on the ground, such as the Shadow Creep. It can remove walls. It can take off Voth's Bloodborne spell, which a lot of people don't know. It's just a great card just for clearing the way to get your minions in and attacking the enemy general and finishing him off. Windblade Adept is a 2/3 with Zeal that gains +2 attack, so it's generally a 4/3. It can kill most early game minions, which will just help you control the bird early. It draws you a card if you use Afterblaze and becomes a 6/7, which is a pretty hard hitter and difficult to deal with, and just a great early game 2-drop. No more there. Afterblaze is a spell that gives a friendly minion +2/+4. If the minion has Zeal, you draw a card. We have a total of 9 Zeal minions in the 3 Windblade Adepts, 3 Silverguard Knights, and 3 Suntide Maidens. So we'll be drawing a card fairly often. Otherwise, it's just a great stat buff. You want to play this on a turn where you can attack with the minion in most cases. You don't want to lose out on this value with a Dispel or just the minion getting removed. So don't really play it unless the minion is able to attack, or if it's later in the game and you need to run it out, you can do that. But early game, you risk getting blown out if you play it into a Dispel. Divine Bond. Now this is huge because we have a ton of high health minions. This is going to give the minion attack equal to its health, and since we have a ton of health, we're going to get a ton of attack. You can end the game out of nowhere. This is just a very powerful card, and we're going to get a lot of utility out of this in this deck. Saberspine Tiger, just a general utility creature minion that we play in all kinds of decks, it seems. With your Bloodborne spell that gives it +2 attack, it can deal with a ton of different minions. It can deal 5 damage to the enemy general's face. It can take an Afterblaze buff and become a 5/6 that with Rush that can just start banging on the enemy general. It's just a great overall minion, and that's why we end up slotting it into so many decks. Next up is Silverguard Knight. It's a 1/5 with Provoke. Zeal gains +2 attack. So it's usually going to be playing as a 3/5. It draws a card with Afterblaze. It goes to 8 attack with Divine Bond. Just everything you ask for in a 3-drop, especially in this deck. Just a great, solid value creature. Sojourner is really underplayed a lot of the time because it is kind of overshadowed by Spelljammer, which is legendary. so it's going to cost a lot more spirit. But Lyonar is actually great in this deck because it's great with Afterblaze. It becomes a 3/9 that draws you cards every time it gets hit, so it takes a lot of hits, draws you a lot of cards. Or with Divine Bond, it becomes a 6/5, very hard hitting, draws you cards. We have two of them. We have a ton of 3-drops in this deck, so we only have two, but it's just a great card, and it fits well, it synergizes well with the entire goal of this deck. Suntide Maiden is a card that I think is generally overplayed by newer players, but I think it fits pretty well in this deck. It has Zeal, which at the end of your turn restore it to full health. So your opponent basically has to finish it off all in one turn, otherwise at the end of your turn it will pop back to full health. If we put an Afterblaze or a Divine Bond on it, it becomes a very hard-hitting, healing minion that your opponent's going to have a lot of trouble dealing with without a Dispel or a removal spell. It's just a good 4-drop. It's our only 4-drop in this deck, actually, and it works great with our 2 buff cards, so we're going to get a lot of value out of this. Dancing Blades is just a 4/6, so a pretty decent body for 5. It deals 3 damage to any minion in front of it. So you have to be careful with your positioning, because a lot of times in front of you basically means towards your opponent's starting side of the board. So if you ever end up walking around the map later game and switching sides, it's possible to get mistaken and place this facing the wrong direction, which I've done before, so be careful about that. But basically what you want to do is just plop this down to destroy a minion, and then you have a minion on the board. So that's how we take back board control and set up to use our buffs on the next turn to really just slam people away. 6 health is generally good for surviving, and it fills out a top end of our curve pretty nicely alongside the Ironcliff Guardian, which is the 3/10 airdrop provoke. So you can drop this anywhere on the board. It has provoke, holds things in place, has 10 health, which is huge, especially with the Divine Bond. It goes up to 13 attack. Afterblaze makes it a 5/14, which will be crushing things. Your Battleborn spell makes it a 5/10. There's so many ways to buff this in this deck. It's really hard to kill. It can drop anywhere. It can end games quickly. This is the perfect card for this deck. So overall, this deck ends up being 1140 spirit. Deck list and the Reddit thread will both be in the description, and we'll have some games added in the playlist.